Now, on the 7th of October 2020, John Swinney, Scotland's Education Minister, announced that Scottish National 5 exams will be cancelled and replaced with teachers' assessments and coursework. But what does this mean for students, especially students here in England and in the rest of the UK, who are currently preparing for their GCSEs? Well, stick with us because we're going to do a brief breakdown of what exactly is happening, and we'll see if we can figure out the answer to those questions that we just mentioned. So before we jump in, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of the latest news, information and advice on GCSEs, A-levels, BTECs, university and beyond. And also, of course, we're an art specialist channel, so we have loads of art specialist videos too. So let's get back to the topic at hand. So for those of you that don't know, the Scottish National 5 exams roughly are equivalent to the English and Welsh GCSEs. In Scotland, those exams have now been cancelled, and the reason that's been given for that is that the effects of the pandemic combined with the exam conditions and everything going on around it, it's just too much of a risk, too big of a risk they described it as. And that's understandable. The current situation is extremely far from ideal. And the events of this year has caused a whole lot of anxiety, stress and general mental turmoil for a lot of young people and their parents and their carers and their families. And that's countrywide, that's been the case. So this is understandable, and I don't think that this is a bad decision. Now, the replacement of these exams with a combination of teachers' assessments and other assessments throughout the year sounds to me a lot more like a refined version of the CAGs, those centre assessed grades that we saw earlier in the summer 2020 exams. And that used evidence from classwork, homework, mock exams and more to arrive at the grades that students eventually got during August. Now, the hope is, of course, that the system can be made a lot more robust and consistent and just correct, reliable. And with that, hopefully we'll get some good training that will make sure that across the board teachers are marking nice and consistently and reliably and accurately, so everything's in line. And of course the aim for that will be to make sure that students arrive at the grade that they deserve, the one that really reflects the amount of work that they're putting and their ability. They've of course also mentioned that they're not using the algorithm that everybody hated so much back in the summer, but there will be some sort of moderation, which makes sense. To be honest, this sounds a lot like the alternative that I was suggesting a few videos ago. I'll link it in the corner on a card, where I spoke about why maybe exams shouldn't be cancelled in 2021, and this sort of ties in with what I was saying could be an alternative. So be sure to check that out if you haven't seen it already. So then, you may ask, what happens to the Highers and Advanced Highers, so the equivalent of English, AS and A-levels? Well, in Scotland those will carry on as normal, but be delayed by 2 weeks to the 13th of May 2021. So that's not much of a delay, 2 weeks, but any extra time is a good thing. And to be honest, it does sort of go in line with the fact that a lot of students will probably end up self-isolating at some point, which of course takes 2 weeks out of their school learning. So I guess it does sort of make up for that in a way. But 2 weeks, it seems to be what they're going for at the moment. And they also said that there's a contingency plan for if something unexpected happens. Again, something that throws everything off. So there's a contingency plan which will most likely be, in my opinion, resorting to the CAGs. But we never know. We'll wait and see what more information is given on that. So that's not a bad thing. It's always good to be prepared. So it's good to know that they're taking that on board from last time. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. And you may be asking why the reason is that they've gone ahead with the Highers, with the AS and A-level equivalents, but not with the National 5s. And the reason makes sense. Basically what they said was that because the year is so important, because it goes on to decide who goes to what university and onto what apprenticeship and onto what job, they're such a significant exams and significant results that they don't really want to mess with them too much. They would really rather the students be there to take them in person so that the results can be as accurate as possible. And you know what, I think that's fair, and I wouldn't be surprised if the UK will try and make sure that if all else fails, AS and A-level exams happen just to avoid that. So what does this mean for GCSE students? That's the question that I'm sure many of you are here for. Well, nothing and something. It's a bit of a mixed bag because of course Scotland will do what it will do. It's free to make its own choices in that regard, so and England will likewise do what it will do. Gavin Williamson, the Education Minister, and Ofqual don't seem very keen on cancelling exams in any way. And although they're still ruminating on whether to delay the exams and how much to do it by, it doesn't seem that cancelling the GCSEs or AS or A levels or any exams around that time will happen, or that it's on the table at the moment for them, or it wasn't before anyway. But here's the thing that makes the situation worth talking about. The unexpected seems to be the norm nowadays. So even though they've said that they don't want to do something, it doesn't necessarily mean that they won't change their mind later on. Just think of the U-turn that happened concerning the results and whether they would use the CAG grades or the moderated standardized grades. And in relation to that, think about what happened. Scotland made the decision first, and they scrapped it on around the 11th of August or somewhere around there, and it took about 6 days for England to do the same. And that was after initially saying no, they weren't going to do the same. So there's always a chance that England may go the way of Scotland. So it's relevant in that we now see that it's on the table because Scotland's done it. But once again, our government here in England has said what they have said, that they really don't want to do it. So we'll just have to see what happens. There's precedent for change, but there's no certainty of it. All we can do is sit and wait. Now, once again, as I said before, this entire situation lends itself to the possibility of a large whole-scale educational reform, which sounds exciting and is apparently being spoken about with great seriousness among the MPs. I myself have thought that there was no way exams should return to how they were after this, that there should really be a rethink of how we do things, how we assess, how we grade. And I've got several videos talking about that on my channel. I'll link a few on the side. But what this will amount to, all this talk about it, and the fact that this is going to be a topic of debate over the coming few months, once again, we'll have to wait and see. But this is quite exciting. These are exciting times. And so bearing that in mind, I've got a question for you. What do you think of this major change that's happening in Scotland with the exams? And if you're in England or Wales or sitting the papers from there, you might be in another country, do you think that they should cancel the GCSEs as well? Do you think that it should just be the GCSEs, or do you think it should be the GCSEs and the AS and A levels and BTECs and all the other exams too? Let me know down in the comments below, because I really want to know what you guys are thinking about this. All I'll say for now is similar to probably what your teachers are telling you, which is don't stress too much. Everyone's going through the same thing in the country. It's not just you. All year 10s, 11s, 12s, 13s are going through the same thing. So just keep up to date with your work. Keep doing your revision, your studies, and don't waste any time, shouting at the wind or fighting for something that when it comes down to it, you don't really have much control over. You have control over your exams, what you're sitting, what you're learning. So just try and concentrate on them and not worry too much about it. Try and keep a positive outlook. Because I'm not here to bring bad news, and I'm not here to encourage a call to action or anything like that. I'm just here to inform you so that you can make the right decisions and the right choices for you and the path that you want to take moving forward. So that's all for today. I just thought I'd weigh in on the topic since I saw it on the news and thought this is something that I'm sure a lot of people that watch my videos would find interesting. And I'm really interested in watching how this develops and what this might mean for the future of exams and education within this year. So let me know what you think about this. So, of course, if you haven't by now, be sure to subscribe and hit the like button as well, because I'm going to keep this information coming. And that's all for now. Until next time.